I'm Pastor Kathleen, and it's good to be with all of you. My specific role with Christian education is I'm the clergy point person. So I am overseeing things, but a lot of the work is done by the teachers and also by the CL committee, so our Congregational Life Committee. Our main staff person on a Sunday morning is Eric, and Eric is our church school coordinator. So just want to run through some goals for the day. First, I'm going to share our new theme. Have you be able to define the workshop rotation model in your own words. So this is the model we've been having going there for, I think we figured out it was like over 10 years. That's been the model down there, but just to be able to put words to that for ourselves. And when people in the congregation, especially when parents are, dropping their kid off for the first time, they're like, so what are you doing here? Just being able to articulate that, I think it will be good. Helping everybody to see the big picture of our church school schedule and how we do things with that. I'll be sharing with you some of the scripture lessons and stories for the year, and also answer questions and for us to help one another to be prepared for the upcoming year. So many of you have been down there so much teaching these classes, and your experiences is really what can help guide people who might be going down there for the first time teaching. So I want to be a resource for each other. All right, want that drum roll? All right, our new theme is Waterworks. Oh, we got sound effects. For a while, it's been Faith Forest, and it is now going to be Waterworks. This is our new logo for our Waterworks, which we will be incorporating in various ways downstairs. Somebody want to say out loud our scripture?
Out of the believer's heart will flow rivers of living water. John 7, verse 38.
And so Waterworks, the thought of the theme, we did some brainstorming with CL and Eric and I and Kirk and I, and the idea of it is the force of water shaping bedrock. So the way that our faith is shaped over time, so that the water washing over us, the water working through us, and that you never step in the same river twice. So the idea of God at work in and among the work that we do down there. So Waterworks, just for clarity's sake, it's the name for the church school for grades 1st through 4th is the group that we call Waterworks. Like right now we call that Faith Forest, so it's changing to Waterworks. And Waterworks is also the theme of our Christian education wing in the lower level. So as we are approaching our capital campaign renovations down there, that'll be the theme going forward. And so that's part of why we chose to change the theme at this point. We're having a fresh start down there, so might as well have a fresh start in our theming as well. So the rooms are themed off of kind of the functions of water, our experience with water. And so Splash is our opening time, which is also Bible skills and games. And so the Splash room is what we now know as the lower narthex. So that will be, the new room name will be Splash. And then also we will have Dive. Dive is our creative drama and also video and storytelling, that type of thing. And it will be the spaces that are currently the mid-high room and worship center. So if you're familiar with the spaces down there, that wall will be taken out and it'll be a bigger space to be able to do drama and storytelling and that sort of thing. And then we also have Reflect. Reflect is our art and also cooking space. This is currently Woodland Games. Who wants to guess how the fourth one matches up? It's Wade. What is Wade?
That's the worship center.
Yes, it is.
We're just getting our toes wet.
Yep, getting your toes wet.
Yep.
And so worship center will be the room that is currently the log cabin room. That will be the new worship center. The theater room will become the new mid-high room, so that way Youth in Action and mid-high will be right across the hallway from each other, and the computer lab will become more storage. The way that we will do the computer lab function is we're working on the tech side of things, but whatever tech we end up with, it'll be portable. We'll take the tech to whatever space we're using with that, just so you're in the loop on how all of that works. So just to talk through a little bit of the philosophy of the workshop rotation model. So like I said, this is something we've been using down there for a while, but I think it's a helpful thing, specifically if the teachers are able to really own the vision of that and communicate that to parents. So I was having too much fun getting the words to all work together on this, so everything starts with R, because why not? And if you can fill that in your own words, you don't need to write an essay or anything, but just jot a couple of words down. Part of the philosophy is repetition. By repetition, we mean when we are teaching a lesson, and those who have been there, you will have experienced this. We spend about 3 to 5 weeks, depending on what our month is looking like, teaching the same Bible story. So we really focus it. So instead of doing a different Bible story every week, we do the same Bible story, but we just do it in different ways. So repetition, we repeat the same Bible story, which helps out with retention. So by slowing down the rate of going through the different stories, workshop rotation model helps deepen the experience for kids, and it helps them remember it. It also, for students who, for whatever reason, are there the first week, then they're there the fourth week, and might have missed the weeks in between, the retention over having a break in between is better because they've heard the story at least once, and that can help with that as well.
And I find in this day and age, we have a lot of kids that come from divorced families where they only can come every other week, so that they're not just hearing this one time, and so that does help with that.
Exactly. And part of something else that kind of works with that is recruitment. Part of the way we try to recruit for church school is because these classes are so specialized to different interests, finding teachers who would have a passion for those interests. Very specifically, the different curriculums even, topics that you might know more about than the average person or might engage with in a way that we see working out really well. So recruitment can be a little more specific because we're really trying to match you with the class rather than just having a teacher in general. We want you to feel comfortable and we want you to feel supported, and so that's part of how the recruitment factors into the workshop rotation model. Also, can't forget rotation. Rotation is one of our words there. Each week the classes rotate into a different workshop. When you're doing this in a larger format, you would sometimes have various workshops going on all at the same time, and you would teach the same workshop over a whole month. But the way we do it, each week we have the 2 groups that will be working with this curriculum. So we have the 1st through 4th, which is our Waterworks group, and they'll be doing one workshop. And then we'll have our mid-high, which is our 5th through 8th, and they'll be doing another workshop. But each week they're experiencing a different topic, a different way of learning. So that's what we mean by rotation. So you kind of move from place to place and topic to topic throughout a month. So the different classes that we have, the different workshops, we've talked about a little bit with the room names, but specifically with our curriculum, it's art, Bible skills and games, computer lab, cooking, creative drama, music, science, and video. Because we have all these different workshops, it becomes relatable. Each workshop focuses on a different way at getting at the story, which appeals to different learning styles and the different ways that kids engage with the topics. You will see a little chart there that is Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. And this is part of what feeds into the workshop rotation model, what makes that make sense to us. And basically it's the idea that we all learn in different ways, and different things work better for others and in different ways. That is the workshop rotation model. All right, just to talk a little bit about how that plays out in our church, kind of the big picture with that is our curriculum. We do the same story for 3 to 5 weeks depending on what our month is looking like. The curriculum that we do leads up to our Communion Sunday, which happened to be the first Sunday, but the intention with the way we've scheduled things is that then on that Communion Sunday, Kirk or I will be preaching on the scripture that they will have then studied for the month previous. Since we are all together on those Communion Sundays and the kids are in the pews, the hope is that the kids will have, heard the story multiple times, and that the scripture and the sermon will resonate with them in a different way than if they're just walking in and they haven't heard it before, and that they'll be able to engage in conversation with their families following the service, that really they'll just be able to be more present with that. It also enables the children to lead in worship, because at this point, especially kids who have been there every week, they are pros. They are experts. They know the story backwards and forward. A lot of times, adults are daunted by worship leadership, and kids sometimes aren't as daunted, sometimes, depending on the personality, but enabling them to have a forum where they can share those stories and share what they've learned. That's what it is. That's your fill in the blank there. So this is something we were still trying to figure that out a little bit. This past year we did some of that through video, sometimes through the children's message, but our intention is to focus in on that increasingly throughout the year and to give kids more of an input into that service. That is part of why we have it scheduled as we do. Also, by scheduling it this way, it gives us the potential of having Christian education classes that start before our monthly lesson that could bring together teachers, kids, and adults that would interact with the lesson on their own level. Tried to do this a little bit this past year with the Faith Forest for All, but we were doing that after the lesson, and there was some conversation about like, well, wouldn't it be more helpful to the teachers especially if we did it before, and that way it's kind of a preview of the curriculum. You can ask questions you have about the lesson, and also parents can see a little glimpse into what their kids are going to experience, so it's a little advertising by structuring it in that way. That would be a possibility. And so that would guide teachers in the classroom, help parents teaching their kids about faith, as well as provide intergenerational connections around scripture. The lesson materials are specific to the stories, and they're posted on the church Google Drive. If this is something that you have not accessed before, we can talk about that more after the meeting and make sure that we get you on there and help you figure out how that works. And for those of you watching the video, Myra really is a great resource on getting people connected into that. That's where we post the curriculum. You can check it out there, and that way you can access it from wherever. You can look and see what materials are needed, that sort of thing, and then Eric is your resource for helping you to get those if you had questions about how specifically to make something happen. On the curriculum schedule that we worked on Google Drive, there are some specific notes like no glitter. Also wanted to let you know this was something we have but are definitely not fully using. The way Eric and I access the curriculum to then put it on the Google Drive is through Spark House Online. Our church has a Spark House Online subscription, and so what this means is all the curriculums that we're using are on this one database online, but that also has resources that you might find helpful. Like it has this big picture overview, the breakdown, so you can kind of see a quick summary of what is coming up for a month. And it also has some background videos for the curriculum to tell you a little bit more about the story.
Welcome to the story of 10 men healed.
There's a lot of really cool stuff on there. We only pick and choose certain ones because we only have so many lessons to teach, but there's a lot of cool ones on there that we don't use that are great learning experiences, even if you don't use them within the church, use them in your home. There's a lot of cool stuff on there.
And so if that's something that you are intrigued by, we'd love to get more of our teachers signed up. You have to have a specific login under our account. We want to set that up for whoever would be wanting to use that. Please talk to Eric or I afterwards if that's something that you are interested in. Next, I just wanted to touch on something that is one of those things that we do, but we don't articulate that we are doing it that often. And so just wanted to have it in front of you, and like I was saying with the workshop rotation model, have you be able to be a resource on this and know why we do the things we do, that there is thought behind it. And so you actually have a handy dandy little brochure on this. If you listen to Kirk and I preach, which I'm hoping you do, we try and be as intentional as possible about our word choice, specifically as it relates to God. In some Bible translations, you'll hear God referred to in a lot of masculine pronouns. That's something that Kirk and I really try and avoid, just because there are so many wider ways to refer to God, and God is not a person. God is God. So our intention with kind of word choice, and part of the reason why we like the Spark House curriculum is the translations it uses and the general curriculum. It does do this, but just something to kind of have on our radar of why, why that's happening. So, what does inclusive mean in this context?
Well, inclusive means being accepting of all differences. Mm-hmm. I guess it's the best way to say it.
Sure.
Including.
There you go. So examples-wise, there's actually a chart. So that gives you a little bit of examples of what that looks like. And then the other word we have on there is expansive. This specifically in this talks about being expansive in the vocabulary we use to refer to God. And that there are examples of how that happens in Scripture. One of the important things for me with this is to see how Scripture itself does this. You know, we have so many different images for God. I love the image of the mother hen, and a lot of people love the eagle's wings, you know, as an eagle. And so just the idea that God is much bigger than words that we can apply. And this is something that I really didn't face at all until I got to seminary, and then just the way that it was framed, that words really have an impact on how we see one another and how we view God, kind of brought me around to this. Like I said, this is mostly me wanting to have you guys be in the loop on why we do the things we do. Next, I just want to run through some of the lessons that are coming up. And you definitely don't need to write down every single one of them, but just as an exercise for how you're feeling about these stories, I have 3 different categories if you wanted to write down any of them, and then we can kind of unpack that a little bit together. So as I'm reading through, feel free to write down the titles of them under these 3 categories. So stories I feel very familiar and comfortable with. Stories I feel comfortable learning more about from the curriculum. So something you would, it's kind of in between, you know, like, well, I've heard that story, you know, I have some thoughts on that, but I'm sure the curriculum will fill me in enough that I'll feel comfortable teaching it. And then stories I would like additional background support resources on if I'm to teach about it. So something, you know, where you're like, I don't even know what that is, or, you know, I want you guys to feel comfortable and equipped, especially if there are several in that 3rd camp there. That would be great ones to make a point of highlighting in some classes leading up to the curriculum. This is kind of a general poll on how you feeling about the stories that are headed our way. Okay. Our first lesson will be 10 men healed, and this is Luke 17:11 through 19. The second lesson that we'll be doing is the story of Abraham and Sarah. So this is in Genesis 12. Then the next one is Banquet with Simon, which is in Luke 7. Then we find ourselves in December. Guess what this one is about? The curriculum called Jesus is Born. Then in January we have House on the Rock, and that's in Matthew 7. Yes. In February our story is Love is ... And that is from 1 Corinthians 13. Next we are in March, and the curriculum for that is called Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday. And so it is specifically focusing on Holy Week. Then we have Doubting Thomas. Closing out the year, we have Mary and Martha. That's right, Mary and Martha, which is in Luke 10. To kind of wrap up our time together, I have a couple of questions, but the main goal of my questions is for you guys to be supporting each other. So whatever you have to contribute to that end is going to be helpful. What excites you most about church school? And it can either be in general or specifically, you know, teaching it in this upcoming year. What excites you the most, and what are you most nervous about?
Sometimes I don't know what to say back to kids. I am worried about the question, who's God? Oh.
Yeah. Well, you can...
He's really big.
You can let her through this list and say, God is a lot of things.
What I personally like about teaching is that I learn so much myself about the Bible, and then, you know, I try to thoroughly learn stuff so that I can teach. What I enjoyed most about the high schoolers is you can talk to them on a level up here where little kids I'm not so comfortable with. I've helped out a couple times this year, but it's like, please give me older kids. I noticed when I was teaching high school, every week it was like, are they even listening? Are they even getting it? But then when they would go through confirmation class and they would have to give their things, I would hear things saying that they said that it was like, hey, they're quoting me. Hey, they learned it in my class. It was like, woohoo! You know? So that was cool, knowing that, wow, it really did sink in.